Metallica are taking over U.S. Bank Stadium August 16th and 18th. Don't miss their M72 World Tour, featuring 2 nights of epic performances, different set lists, and a bold, new in-the-round stage. Single-day tickets are still available. For full details, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Got ESPN on the TV right now. Kendrick Perkins, Mad Dog Russo. Can't tell who the third guy is. Has this been a successful season for the Lakers? They just can't help it. They just...
I mean, come on, man.
I'm one of the few people out there who, I'm an outsider. Like, I've been close to the Vikings and some of these teams now north of a decade, which is awesome, and it's super fun. But I'm still I'm an outsider in the respect I don't work for the teams. I just get to talk about them and watch the games. Nepotism is a thing that exists, not just in sports, but everywhere, ultimately. Like, you have kids, you have a daughter. I have 3 daughters now, but like I would want the best for them under any circumstances. I'm not that offended that the Lakers took the 55th overall pick and Bronny's on the team and he gets to play with Dad. No. I don't know if you have a problem with that, and I know many people do. And nepotism and the idea that, I mean, who didn't get drafted because Bronny is there? It sounds like they're going to work the contract out, so he has to be on the NBA roster day one. So you can think about that. Is there somebody, a 13th, 14th guy that doesn't get to be on the roster now? I get all of those things. But if LeBron wants his kid, if he wants to play with his kid, I can't argue with a dad wanting to play pro hoops with his kid, and I actually think it's pretty cool. And but then that's it. Now they're spending segments and hours and days and eons on this thing. And
yeah,
JJ in the mix. They had the two with LeBron had a podcast together. All of those things. LeBron still, I mean, he just got another $100 million. He just won't retire.
Which also signals the Lakers are not getting any help in free agency.
Correct. Yeah, and that's, part of our conversation yesterday about the West, the Wild West as it is, whether it's the dismantling of a dynasty in the Bay or it's the Lakers and where they're at right now. You start to play, Phoenix, what's that going to look like? Because I think other than Bradley Beal having a no move, they certainly will have Booker. But Durant, there have been some floating rumors about would he be potentially on the move? Houston's trying to do their thing. That's real cute. But when you think about like who you're going to have to barrel through in the West, I mean, this definitely feels like sundown swan song for LeBron getting to play with his kid, and we'll all fawn over it for about 2 seconds. And then we'll move on. But the Lakers definitely struggling with getting help to bolster that thing.
100%. And not a lot of people want to go there. And they don't have a lot of cap space or a lot of trade assets to even make any moves or get any help. So it's kind of, regardless of how you feel about LeBron, you don't really want to see one of the game's greatest players just kind of flame out in the play-in tournament every single year.
No.
And on the Bronny bit, as soon as LeBron's out of the league, if Bronny's not good enough, he's going to get cut. If he's not good enough, it's going to be a couple-year thing, and boo-hoo. I mean, any of those guys that would have been drafted in that spot are probably getting workouts for other teams, and they're going to find their way onto a roster if they truly are good enough. But if he's not good enough, first of all, he wouldn't have been drafted. I don't remember Michael Jordan's kids getting drafted by any NBA teams as far as I remember. It's partially probably because Jordan probably didn't want to play with them because they stunk, and he would not advocate for them to be on his team because he's a maniac that's obsessed with winning. But also, he has to at least be good enough that he's there at the table. So I don't really have a problem with it. It's not going to be a serious thing. He didn't get drafted first overall or anything like that. If it was the first round, if he was truly taking opportunities away from someone that deserved it, I would maybe have more of a fuss about it. I think the weirder situation is the JJ Redick and LeBron podcast thing. I think that's a little bit of a more strange situation than the Bronny thing, in my opinion.
Well, now I'm trying to. I got to see here how old is his oldest kid. I don't know why now I'm fascinated with, because I'm just picturing a scenario whether it was were one of his kids old enough to the point where they would have been end of Bulls side? Would it have been
I guess I don't know.
Would it have been Wizards days in the twilight, or even now, running? And I think is he on his way out as owner of the Hornets?
Yeah, I think he might already
maybe
be done.
already.
Yeah,
okay,
I think he's done already. Yeah.
So, but I'm just picturing it like Phil Jackson is like, okay, we're not dealing with this. Am I going to retire? The baseball thing was stupid. We want to keep winning titles. They just did their second three-peat. What if we brought your kid in? And Michael's like, do you want to win games?
Yeah. Like, are you serious?
Or Twilight, he's just playing out the string. It's HOF, sold out crowds every night. Just want to tug at the cloth of the real king in Michael Jordan before he finally does retire. And the Wizards brass are like, hey, you want to bring your son? How cool would it be if you played with your son? And Michael's like, no, he's awful.
yeah.
And then so that's the second tier. And again, I don't know how old his oldest son would be. So maybe the Bulls thing, that's not even real.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't probably work out with the math that I'm seeing, but still, it's a funny scenario.
But then, he has owned an NBA franchise.
Right.
He has owned actually a place to probably, just even throw him into the G League system, and maybe he just puts the jersey on for a day. It's a good photo op, a bobblehead giveaway, and some fun down in Charlotte. Michael's like, I don't want to waste my money on that.
Right. Yeah. He handed that brother a passport and said, have fun.
Yeah, correct.
And Yugoslavia.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, when you see a dog trotting by with a human hand in its mouth, you'll know how hard it is to do what Dad did. Best of luck now, but hey, new generation,
right?
Okay, little more. We're keeping the Cubs close to Mama and Papa Bear. Bronny's going to get an opportunity now. Nepotism was a thing as soon as he was born. He was never going to probably want for many things in his life, being the son of LeBron James, but
and also literally being named LeBron James Jr. I mean, it's not even like a question whether he's in the lineage or not. Plus, I do got to say, before he had the heart problems, he was projected to be a first-round pick.
He was one of the top high school kids in America.
Yeah.
And then he does have the heart thing, which, hopefully he's past it. By all accounts, it appears that this, I don't even know exactly what went into it, but it looks like he's healthy again. We don't want bad things in that regard.
Shout out to the Mayo Clinic.
Absolutely. So in that end, he's drafted 55th.
Right.
I mean, there were, whether it's the 4 Frenchmen that were taken in the first round, we got Dillingham, we got all the names. It wasn't like he was stealing a lottery selection here. It wasn't completely out of bounds. So I'm kind of with you. The J.J. Redick LeBron connection into that coaching decision, that's probably more interesting to me. And in the end, the most important thing for me as a Wolves fan is that the Lakers don't appear to be a team that they're going to have to lose sleep over, we will say, into this next season. And see, we fell into the same trap. We fell into the same trap. Now I get it. Now I understand why the major networks absolutely just live for these sorts of talkers, because it's easy. It's easy. As I mentioned earlier, and there's not a lot of time. We'll get to Manny Lagos. Maybe this will come up again. Maybe never. But I'm fascinated. Charch, we were talking a little bit about it on the feast last week. And it comes down to, whether it's cap space for the Vikings, who are they going to add? And right now that Justin Jefferson has signed that big contract deal, Christian Darrisaw is going to be a talker that persists until there's a solution there. But money-wise, things have really stabilized for the Vikings. But 3 teams in particular have massive decisions to make. And so kind of the idea, and we can run quickly through this, just 3 quarterbacks who are all in the final years of their deals. So Tua till you satisfy, Tua Tagovailoa. 5th-year option, that's what he's playing on. He's going to make $23 million this year. That's the final year of his deal. So Tua and the Dolphins. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. Final year of his deal, bunch of void years on the back end. Maybe they're beholden to him, who knows. But Dak, all those playoff appearances, a lot of losses at home. I think he's 1-3 in playoff games at home.
Yikes.
Including that blowout by this guy, Jordan Love. Jordan Love. All you Packers fans listening. $12 million cap hit this year. That's the final year of his deal. So when you see the $275 million contract for Joe Burrow, you saw the I think it's the same number, Trevor Lawrence, re-upping for Jacksonville. When you see the numbers that are coming through, I don't think necessarily that whether it's 250 or 275, there's probably not a reason to weep or create gnashing of teeth over the specific number. But kind of the idea is that these guys could get their paydays. So let's start with Tua. Are you signing Tua off his 5th-year option? You get the one playoff appearance. It was like 2 degrees. He couldn't handle it. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But Tyreek and Waddle and Mike McDaniel's offense and all of that included, the head injuries, where are you at with Tua?
I think it all hinges on this year because the Dolphins, they also are in a weird situation where they designed the entire offense around Tua's strengths. So they kind of almost have no choice but to re-sign him because you also want to take advantage of Tyreek Hill's window while he's still fast and still an elite receiver. Plus, you got Jalen Waddle locked in. I mean, they're the fastest team in the NFL. They found something really special with Achane down there last year before he got hurt. The defense isn't quite there, and they're in a tough division because no matter how good they are, they still might find themselves in 3rd against the Jets and the Bills. Obviously, the Patriots are not going to be any good this year, but I think they kind of have no choice because they have all the pieces there. They have the weapons at running back and arguably one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL. You don't really have time to go draft a quarterback and try to get some other. And I don't think there's a whole lot of good free agents coming up this year, so I think they have no choice. They kind of have to roll it to at least for a little bit.
I think ultimately they do pay him, and I'm leaning your direction in terms of what's the other option. And you're right. This money thing with Tyreek could be interesting in terms of how that drags out. He wants a new deal because Waddle just got paid. If there was anybody in the NFL that could pull a Brock Purdy, though, I think it's this team with the way that they run that offense. And I'm not saying Tua can't throw the ball. He's made some fantastic touch throws at distance, sideline throws, all of those things. Tua can play. Can Tua stay healthy? Now he's also coming off a healthy season, so that you'll note that all those concussions, that's in the past. Now he's ready to rock, and for his sake, hopefully that is the case. But if anybody could do a Brock Purdy in the NFL, I think it'd be Mike McDaniel, and just the way if your goal is to get Tyreek and get Waddle in space, and you mentioned Achane, he was so good, and then they still have Raheem Mostert, by the way,
right.
He still can fly. I really like that offense. Now, how things work defensively is a different story. Bradley Chubb gets injured late last year. Jalen Phillips having some pretty damn good games for the Dolphins. So looking ahead to that, I think you're right that they ultimately do sign him. I don't think they should. Yeah, that's where I'm at with Tua.
I agree.
And this is I love Tua, but the long term, I'm not buying into it. Next up, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys.
Ugh, I would not pay Dak Prescott. I think you've had a fairly large sample size of what Dak Prescott can do, and similar. I mean, different on a different side of the ball. They have just ballers defensively that you got to try to take advantage when you have that good of a defense. And obviously, they got CeeDee Lamb, who's probably holding out for a new deal and everything, and they got some weapons offensively. But you've had a decent enough sample size on Dak Prescott. And the Cowboys are always all in, no matter what year it is. They're never rebuilding. They're always all in. But if I'm Jerry Jones, well, first of all, I would have made some very key different decisions throughout my life. But if I was Jerry Jones, I don't think I'm paying Dak Prescott because he just has, when the lights get brighter, his play gets dimmer. So I wouldn't do it. You do have a lot of young guys. You got Micah Parsons. You got a lot of younger guys on that team, and the division is pretty good right now with the Eagles, competing with the Eagles in the NFC East. So I wouldn't do it. I'd go try to find someone else. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're one of the premier destinations for free agents. You're not going to have a problem trying to entice somebody to come to the team. I just don't think it's worth it. I think Dak is. He's shown that he can be a really good quarterback if you look just purely at the numbers, but in the big moments, he's a middle of the pack kind of guy. I don't pay Dak.
Yeah, I don't want to pay Dak either. But so this is similar to the last conversation, though. I think that the Cowboys are more beholden to Dak maybe than any of these other situations that we'll get to.
Yeah.
Because of the time ticking with the big man upstairs in Jerry Jones, and the fact that this is constantly a win now operation, and they've done nothing, by the way, to put themselves in a spot to have that long term answer. And so, who are they? I mean, I don't know if it comes down. Is it going to be CeeDee Lamb or Dak? They should keep CeeDee and they should move on. But Dak ultimately, I think he gets paid. So I'm kind of flip flopping. I think he gets paid, but they shouldn't, and it's more based on internally where they sit. Finally, Jordan Love. He's only going to make $12.5 million this year. You got the head coach saying he's a future superstar.
Yeah, that's a steal. I think the Packers, are going to definitely pay him. Arguably the best quarterback, at least top 5 quarterback over the last half of the season. He had something like almost 3,000 yards in the last half of the season.
Yeah.
We obviously saw he demolished the Cowboys in the first round and just barely lost to the 49ers in that second round. And it was most of it, no fault of his own. So I think Jordan Love, I would lean towards yes. I want to see another season, and I want to see him sustain that type of high level play for an entire season. But the Packers, they've had him waiting in the wings forever. So far, he's proven that they were right to have him waiting in the wings. They were right to have him be the heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think because of all the Aaron Rodgers stuff, I think they still have a lot of QB PTSD, and they don't want to deal with all of that drama, have it looming over the season because they saw how distracting it can be. I think Jordan Love gets paid for sure.
I think he does get paid. I hope he gets paid a ton of money. Give him $275 million. Then he regresses greatly because you paid a guy off of a half season of elite play, and you're absolutely stuck. That's what I hope for the Packers fans, and that your team loses every single game. So that's where we're at with at least a few names. And now we're going to switch from football to football. Manny Lagos, I believe it's the chief development officer. That's cool. The executive suite, big office, but big things going on for the soccer team, the Loons, right now. So I'm going to chat with Manny, do a catch up with him. Kind of a state of the Loons. They're hosting Vancouver this evening at Allianz Field. And we'll continue 9 to noon next right here on The Fan.
Find our Mall of America street team all summer long out at our station events, and come find us and ask us about our MOA mystery cards where everyone is a winner. See where we'll be next at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Nordo in for PA 9 to noon. And joining us now, appreciate a little match day chat here, Manny Lagos, Chief Development Officer, Minnesota United and the Loons. Long time no talk, Manny. How you been?
Holy cow, it's been a while. Doing very well. It is the summer of soccer in the thick of it right now in an awesome way. If you're a big soccer fan, maybe not so much of a U.S. fan right now.
No doubt about that. But and I do want to get your opinion as somebody that has spent his life not only certainly a close knit part of whether it's U.S. soccer in general, but the sport here at home. I do want to get into that, but I want to start specifically with the Loons. It's match day today. Speaking of being in the thick of it, the summer of soccer, the MLS season continues on. Hopefully sooner than later, you're getting up back to full strength with all those international call-ups. But Vancouver in town, any special game day festivities at Allianz Field tonight on the eve of the 4th of July?
I will tell you, I think the festivities are all going to take on the field given our recent form. I think it's a massive game. Also, we have an awesome crowd. We have an awesome fan base. And started the season so well, and this month has hit us hard. It's kind of been a perfect storm of a great start, probably even starting the season a thin roster, and then you kind of had the Reynoso saga kind of get sorted, but subtract a player, and then you have the international duties, particularly Tani, Dane, Brand, Harvey, all gone a month, along with Pookie and Robin for a little bit, and then Pookie came back injured, so it's been one of those months where the adversity has hit us hard. And again, I don't think we're shying away from it. We're like, hey, this is where we are. We know we got some work to do. And tonight's a big one at home because we go on the road to LA on the weekend. And we have been playing well with the limited roster, but we haven't gotten the results. So we've got on the field tonight, Vancouver is a team that, similar to us, they started out really strong and they slipped. And they seem to have come out of it and are playing in a kind of more confident mode maybe than us. 2 players I really highlight. Brian White, an American kid, went to Duke University and is a just seasoned, tough-nosed forward. If you want to geek out a little bit, he scored one of the goals of the year last weekend. Unbelievable heel flick over his head over the goalie in the goal. And they also have this Scottish guy, Ryan Gold, who manages their midfield. He's a tough, gritty, just creative, one of those tough midfielders in MLS that's tough to deal with. So a good challenge for us tonight on the eve of 4th of July, celebration of our country.
How's Eric Ramsey been in terms of, I mean, you mentioned the hot start to the year. There's a mad dash. We just got to get him here. We got to get him, we got to get him fitted for all the shirts and uniforms and everything, and get him managing this operation. And then now having to manage all the call ups and just kind of really testing the depth. What do you think of Mr. Ramsey here as he leads the ship?
I mean, I think as a Minnesota sports fan and as a fan of particularly soccer and the Loons, you couldn't have a guy who is at his age more hungry, more mature, more like open to the fire hose of challenges and adversity we have that I've seen so far. And again, I've got a lot of the gray hair. Thank you for reminding me how old I am. But I've been around a lot, obviously, as a coach and GM and former player for 15 years. And he is just so positive, so focused on every game, every moment. Is not only a learning curve for him as a young coach, but for our group to get better and for the club to get better. So it's been a great leadership addition along with Colin in terms of just the long-term planning. I think in the short term, like I said, the roster, not only with the injuries, and again, I think I'm not trying to make excuses because all teams have adversity like these in their situations. But with the roster being thin too, it's been a great challenge. And I think, like I said, I think people, if you started the season and where we are, I think that the fan base would be, happy and we would all be looking like a good trajectory. The reality is, we've lost 4 in a row, so we can't be honest about that. We're not happy about that. We're a club that expects to win and win championships and make playoffs every year.
Is there any chance that, and with Copa America going on, again, I want to get to the Americans in a second. Everyone hates Greg Berhalter right now. You're probably aware of that. But with Canada in particular, is there any small part of you that was kind of like, I kind of hope the Canucks lose so that I can get Tani and I can get Dane St. Clair back?
Small is understatement. Huge part of me. I mean, I love Canada. I played with Jesse Marsh, great fan of him. But I am not Canadian, and they're not actually using our guys as much. So I would rather have them here. I mean, I'm just being completely honest. Dane's not starting right now. Obviously, what a great honor for him and Tani.
Yeah.
To be representing them and be in the quarterfinals. Unbelievable. Our player Harvey in Panama, but particularly both of them aren't getting huge minutes right now. So no, super selfishly, I think if they're not getting the minutes, get him back. We need numbers just to get an 18 to field a team.
Well, can you tell me a bit about Tani Oluwaseyi, where 7 goals this year, but he hasn't been with the team now in a month. I think the last he had his 7th goal. That's got to be late May or early June, maybe against Sporting KC. And he's been fantastic. He had a goal called back, sadly for Canada, even, but. In the end, I think he's your 2022 draft pick, and it sounds like it looks like you guys have stumbled upon a pretty good one.
Yeah, we have. He's out of Canada, out of a great market of producing soccer players right now, along with Dean, by the way, St. Clair. They're both in the Canadian national team. And he hails from St. John's University. And really, I think from right away we saw the potential and talent in Tani, but we also thought a year of second division soccer would do him wonders, and it did. I mean, he was the leading scorer last year in the second division. Came back here. We have Pookie as well, so we've got these 2 great forwards, and I think he just has embraced whatever the role that Eric asked of him. He has not only just stepped up, but stepped up in a massive way. And so his goal production has been outstanding. His late goals, whether he's starting or coming on, one of the things he does so well is he loads the line. He pushes the other team back, so we have some vertical way to attack teams. Plays in between the 2 defenders so well with his movement, and his finishes have been outstanding. So we certainly, like I said, miss him. And again, the perfect storm is, in a normal world, Pookie would have been ready to go. And unfortunately, he scored 2 goals in the preparation for Portugal for the Euros and then gets injured. And now he also is out. So again, even last weekend we had Will Trapp and go out, and is going to be out for a while now. So again, not making excuses, but it has been tough, but there are so many bright spots to the year, and you're bringing up one of them. Tani has just exploded onto the scene nationally, and that's why I got the call up to it. I got to be honest, an insanely good Canadian roster that has players playing all over the roads. He should be really proud, and we certainly are in Minnesota United of his call up.
You've been a part of this organization for a very long time, Manny, and at one point in 2019, Robin Ludd. It felt like I don't want to call it a flyer. You would have obviously the perception that is accurate in this case, but Robin Ludd joins this team I think it's 2019, so let's call it 5 years. Did you project that Ludd would embrace his home here and really become the MLS incarnation of the Loons, you can't talk about them now without Robin Lod being a big part of that, a mainstay of that. Did you envision that when you first brought him to Minnesota?
I think obviously the cultures are similar, and there's a lot of similarities just from how we live and our kind of weather patterns and just dealing with things maybe off the field. I felt really confident he would integrate right away. You never know when you bring a player in what the end product is me, given that the time and place in their career, the time and place in the team, and again, the coaching staff and the role that they put him in are all important elements. But, from the moment he got here, he actually, I don't think it was taken to by our fans externally right away, because he's one of those guys where until you really start to watch how good of a touch and strong he is, that creates time and space for him to do so many things in the field, goals, assists, keep the ball moving, break lines. He's played 3 or 4 different positions. He's played in the center midfield. He's number 9. He's played wide. I guess he's such a good guy on and off the field. Yeah, I'm surprised because every year he seems to be just getting better and better. And I think now that he's gotten the announcement of being our all-star and called up to that our prestigious event, it's deserved. I mean, he is one of the better players of superstars. And when we signed him, we didn't sign him as a DP. We signed him as a TAM player. And he became a DP for us because he's that good.
This is Manny Lagos, Chief Development Officer, Senior Technical Advisor, Minnesota United FC. It's a Salute to Freedom game tonight, Vancouver in town at Allianz Field. MNUFC.com for tickets and all event details. It's a summer of soccer still upon us. Let's jump to this here, and your team's going to get 3 points tonight. We're going to test that depth, and we're going to handle business at Allianz Field. What did you think about Copa America? Still going on, by the way, quarterfinals matchups, including Canada. I think they play on Friday, but the United States not going to be a part of that. And post World Cup 2022. As a matter of fact, I think the last time that I talked to you, Manny, was World Cup 2022, in which we were kind of analyzing a super young team, and the future is really bright. And Berhalter, by all accounts, it felt like overall had a positive tourney run in the World Cup, save for the controversy over why Gio Reyna wasn't playing and things. So that was 2 years ago. Now fast forward, you lose to Uruguay, you get the early red card against Panama, I believe. And in the 18th minute, Tim Ream maybe, or Weah. I think it was Weah. Anyway, you saw how things ended. I guess I'll just stop talking and say, Manny, what's your 10,000-foot view of Team USA failing to advance in Copa America?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think I'll start with a positive, which is we have 2 years to navigate how we're going to be one of the competitive teams in World Cup 2026, and not just talk about getting out of group, but we need to be talking about making a run in 2026 to win a World Cup. And that is full stop. And unfortunately, right now, given this tournament, us getting knocked out in the group stages, us playing, I think, probably the easiest group in the tournament to get through, it's a tough day for U.S. soccer fans, for U.S. soccer, and for all of us that have put so much time and energy into the belief in the growth and development of the game. And really, I think if you watch the Uruguay-U.S. game, it was, to me, such an apropos game because you have Uruguay, the population of basically Minnesota, playing with grit and hunger and fight and battle while having superstars on the field. And you have us, we're solid. We have players playing all over the world with some of the best clubs and best leagues in the world, not having the same unity, not having the same fight. And really, I think it's got to be kind of reassessed. What are we doing? How are we doing it? How are we going to become one of the better countries in the world? And ultimately, we have a couple things. We got the women's side that we know they do it, and they have done it. And we see the kind of mentality that they have. And frankly, we now have, luckily, 2 years to push ourselves and push the decision-making process to make sure we're doing everything possible because there's just too much investment, too much money, too much belief now that we can do it, that we shouldn't do it.
Is there a situation here, and I'm not rooting for people to lose their jobs, but Berhalter has been the head of this conversation now. This is the second time, actually. At one point, it it was expected he wasn't coming back. They hire a firm, and they end up just bringing Berhalter back. A lot of people were just kind of wondering how that happened. But is this a situation now where are we actively have we already actively in your mind just kind of picturing behind the scenes that whether or not they have already searched or compiled a list that certainly would be an topic, a boilerplate item for the Federation to figure out is, are we going to give Berhalter, if you're going to do it, you got to do it now, right? 2 years in front of the tourney, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you pay a consulting firm $1 million to hire the coach we already had, which is fine. And Greg has done a great job at times, and he has been somebody who, has really gone through some tough stuff when the drama hit that happened to U.S. Soccer and Gio Reyna and that challenging situation. And it came out that the U.S. Soccer decided to stick with Greg. Well, we are now in a moment where we've got to reflect on this major tournament and what are the KPIs of why we're not getting out of an easy group, and what do we have to do both as individuals and as a collection and U.S. Soccer. It starts with them deciding what's the direction they're going to take the Federation so we can all get behind believing and really truly supporting this amazing tournament that's coming to the U.S. in 2 years.
Last one or two for you here, Manny. Thanks again for your time today. And local, let's get back to local for a moment. Developing talent locally, whether it's call it the homegrown aspects of Major League Soccer in the United States, and we could just kind of we can pump up that magnifying glass and just look kind of here in Minnesota. What does the breeding ground of the sport look like in the state of Minnesota? How are local talent cultivated or being cultivated, even the efforts by you and Minnesota United? What's that landscape look like as it sits now?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit like U.S. Soccer right now. There has been so much good stuff and so much potential and so much excitement. It's there. I mean, the investments going into the youth spaces across MLS, and particularly with our club and our ownership's belief in Minnesota youth soccer players, is just unbelievable. It truly is inspiring. I think at the top end, what a great story we have with some players that have kind of creeped into the roster and been vital parts of our good start to the season. And that would be Devin Padelford, who hails from Woodbury, great young kid who's played left center back, left back, and has just done an outstanding job. And then you also have Caden Clark, who didn't go into our academy, but went on his pathway to a Barcelona academy, into New York Red Bulls, over to Europe for a little bit, and he's back, and he's only 20, and he's given some great minutes. We've got some other guys that have poked up, Patrick Ware, a few other ones that, are starting to kind of creep into first team. So on the top end, I think there's incredible excitement about that. We've produced some talent that is getting first team minutes. And then I think on the bottom end, we're still, if I'm being honest, we haven't quite gotten that spark, and we haven't quite gotten where we want to be the leaders that we want to be in this community to bring out the best versions of all these awesome youth soccer clubs who I think do an amazing job and have, and it's why we are, and it's why we have that beautiful stadium. They're committed to the growth of the game, but I think we can do better, and we are going to, in terms of just pushing a pathway for the elite channel to make sure, similar to how the basketball channel did it like 10 or 15 years ago, where now we have top draft picks in the NBA from Minnesota. We have a true belief that we have to really roll up our sleeves, recognize the process that we have to create, and really be a little bit more of a guiding light for these clubs to get excited about developing the talent that we know is in the state of Minnesota. And like all sports, you got to really commit to opening it up to everybody, making sure you have this sport accessible to all of our amazing, diverse community, and then making sure that the filter at the top end goes into our elite academy, into our first team, and then hopefully all the other kids have great experience. But what a great time to do it. I mean, we got 2 years to the World Cup. You've got a league that is just blowing up in MLS. You've got tomorrow or tonight, you've got a stadium that I get chills thinking about on the eve of July 4th, and our crowd cheering our guys on in Minnesota about this sport. It certainly kind of elevates the reality that we have such a great landscape of sports here in Minnesota, and we have the most amazing fans, I think, in the world for all our sports. And anybody that has never been to a game, you got to go, because the environment and the stadium are probably second to none in the league in terms of experience.
Yeah, the venue and vibe is unbelievable. Last thing for you that's just popped in my head, I'm just thinking about it. The WNBA, you follow not every sport, down to the bone, but you're aware maybe of Caitlin Clark, for instance, in the WNBA and kind of the Caitlin Clark effect, just how so many fans have followed her from the college game to now what she's doing in the WNBA, and it's, ratings boosts, and they're not exactly handling it with, the most grace. They're not handling prosperity very well, it seems, in some cases, but the Caitlin Clark effect, have you, over the course of your time, when you see MLS growing, vying for eyeballs, and now via Apple TV, there are opportunities and access specifically to MLS games, season pass, you have some national rights still in the mix as well. The idea of a Caitlin Clark effect taking place in Major League Soccer. Have you seen any of that? Do you think about that at all in terms of just getting more eyeballs on the game and more people sticking around to love this thing?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. First of all, Caitlin Clark has been amazing, and she is amazing career. It's really amazing just to follow somebody who is that dedicated and passionate to their craft, along with a group of a league and women that have been doing it for years. And I think it just kind of flipped a switch on for a lot of people to realize that's a great sport and a great competition in the WNBA. I would probably say there where we were probably maybe about 15 to 18 years ago with David Beckham.
Okay.
After David Beckham, we had an explosion of stadiums. We now sell out 20,000 every game for a lot of our nicer new stadiums. Our fan bases are through the roof. So the bandwidth for us after Beckham really exploded, and even more so now with Messi and the timing of Messi now being able to play in both our great soccer stadiums, but sometimes we've got to move to bigger stadiums because he's almost like Taylor Swift, where it's not even about maybe our stadium. It's about seeing him in the biggest venue possible so you can say you saw Messi one time. So for me, I think the Caitlin Clark effect has happened already in the iteration of Beckham. But for us now, it really is, for example, even in our great state of Minnesota, we could, in a very serious debate with anybody, say we have the best sporting experience in the Twin Cities. And I think it's genuine and honest. And now how do we grow that bandwidth outside of that 20,000 that come every single game and have sold out our stadium essentially for the last 5 years to get more people both watching on TV, but also to realize, we aren't the top league in the world. But we are probably the top parity league in the world, very much like the NBA, WNBA, NFL, in that 30 teams deep. Every year in this league, you have a chance to win the MLS Cup playoffs. You have a chance to take home a championship. And we are building the right way, where we're not just building at the top end of our rosters. We're building at the middle. We're building at the youth. And again, I do think we're a top 10 league in the world right now. I think it'll be incredibly hard and take a lot of revenue generation to get to be a top 5 league in the world. Just because in England and Europe, you're talking about teams that are basically the NFL of that marketplace. So for me, it's just all positive. It's all about the growth, and that's why I brought up the World Cup and the summer soccer. It just seems like the time is right now that we had that Beckham effect, and we maybe had the Caitlin Clark effect 10 or 15 years ago, where now the next growth curve is probably more global for us. It probably is more now that we have so many players from all over the world that want to play in our league. And it's not just the Messis and the aging kind of guys. It's young guys that now want to come to us from South America because they think this is the best pathway to Europe, or this is the best pathway, frankly, to make a lot of money, which now the MLS does pay in the millions of dollars their athletes.
Hey, I like that, and I like you, and I appreciate you giving me time this morning. Not only best of luck tonight.
Hey, Nardo, I got one more for you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do a quick Euro prediction. You got a Euro prediction for me?
Ooh. Give me 30 seconds to think about it, and I'll give you mine. What's yours?
All right, I'll give you real quick. I feel like the finals on Friday is France and Spain, even though it's the quarters, unfortunately. And I'm gonna take the hosts. So there you go for me. Germany.
Gosh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something really stupid, Manny. I'm going to say England. I'm going to say
I like it.
England. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I love France and I love Germany in this spot. There's something weird about that team. There's something after Bellingham gets the bicycle kick in the waning moments.
Yep.
I'm giving the English something that they wouldn't know how to deal with if they had it. But they're absolutely gonna handle business. That's my prediction. But again, thank you so much for hanging out with me on the radio today, Manny. Good luck today. Have an awesome holiday, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Likewise. Cheers.
Cheers. Appreciate it. That's Manny Lagos, Chief Development Officer, Technical Advisor for Minnesota United FC. Salute to service. They're doing an awesome a match presentation. It's going to be the venue's unbelievable at Allianz Field in St. Paul. That's tonight at 7:30 p.m. on the eve of the 4th of July. So that's the state of the Loons. That's where we're at from a soccer perspective. Where are we at from a news perspective? Max is going to update us on that next, 9 to noon on the Fan.
Save the date for the 34th annual Polo Classic. The preeminent polo event in the Twin Cities is back Sunday, August 4th at the Twin Cities Polo Club. You can find out more at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Are you going to rap today? Did you decide whether or not you're going to do it?
I didn't write one yet, but if I can come up with one before the end of the show.
It's up to you. No, you can if you want to. You don't have to. But the formula here's how it is. So once in a while something hits me, and it's just like it's a book I'm reading or something just man on the street type of stuff that two people listening to it will understand.
Right.
But the formula is pretty simple. So you got to get at least one joke in, like a fat joke. Like you got to rip me.
Okay.
So rip me.
Rip you.
Maybe rip Charch. No, I'll leave that to me.
Okay.
That's kind of my thing. So let me handle that. Maybe a couple of bits from the show. Nordo in for PA. He's off his rocker. Text line blew up because he was talking soccer. That kind of thing.
Right.
You feel free to plagiarize. That's fine.
Okay.
We live in a plagiaristic world. You can have that for free. So you just make fun of people. Hit a couple of things about the show.
Check. And
then maybe something stupid about the holiday coming up.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll try to cook something up.
So if you don't have to, but we'd love to hear it. Final segment. John Bonus already in studio, just flying in here, and we're gonna get Hardcore Twins next segment. But let's do a quick shorty news to Nord, brought to you by Canterbury's Card Casino. Poker, blackjack, table games at the casino at Canterbury Park all year round. You're having sips at chips. You're tipping Derek Allen, and you're watching live racing right now. And I think today live racing. First race, let's call it 4-something. That's why you go to CanterburyPark.com. They have fireworks tonight. So bring your lawn chairs and find a place to sit and set up and have a party at Canterbury. Where are we headed to first, Max?
Since we're going to talk Twins with John Bonus around the quarter, we're going to go across the street from Target Field to Target Center. The Golden State Warriors are landing free agent forward Kyle Anderson on a 3-year, $27 million deal. It'll be a sign and trade with the Wolves. The Wolves get a future second-round pick. A pick swap, I should say, and some cash. Slow-mo has been here the past 2 seasons, averaging 6 points, 4 assists, and 3 rebounds last season. But as Wolves fans know, you can't truly look at the box score to know Slow-mo's worth for this team. Yeah,
they really liked him and wanted to keep him, but 3 and 27, so 9 per. You just can't afford that.
No.
And so, but he was fantastic for the most part in his role over the course of his 2 years here. He was obviously more than willing to get into a punching match with Rudy, so we didn't necessarily love that. I contend that in this world, like when I see you and then I hear you talk, like the voice makes sense.
Yeah.
Kyle Anderson and his voice have never made sense. So that will continue to perplex me. These are the things that I think about sometimes. But no, he was one of the more important players in the Mavericks series. Was awful in the Nuggets series, but providing leadership, providing maturity, providing stability off the bench. He's somebody that, in this particular case, with how we do things, is going to be tough to replace, at least on the front end. But good for him. He goes and gets paid by the Dubs.
Kyle Anderson got his money, but 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, according to new reports, is no closer to getting his, as their reports indicate that the 49ers and Brandon Ayuk are no closer to a new deal, but also simultaneously no closer to a trade request. Ayuk hasn't been bashful about wanting to get paid, saying on a podcast recently in regard to his contract talks, if you can't afford a Lamborghini, then you can't have one. Which sounds like something a 21st century Confucius would say.
Yeah, no, I'm getting that tattooed on my lower back, actually, later on. They have an issue with cap hits right now, whether it's Trent Williams, who never ceases to amaze. He's 31 against the cap. Deebo Samuel, 28. Charvarius Ward. This is without knowing, by the way, like Charvarius Ward, he might be a potential free agent candidate a year from now, but he's 18. Bosa, 14, but that's going to jump. So then now you're trying to take Brandon Ayuk from 14, closer to that 30 number that we're talking about, and that's a multi-year deal. I think this is a really difficult situation. He almost went down. I don't know if he ever did, but he was kind of going down the road of like deleting all Niners stuff from his social media, those sorts of things. Yeah. But then I saw even as recent as a week and a half or two ago that they've had some good talks and they feel like there's positivity on the horizon. This is actually, it feels more urgent with them than in some ways the Justin Jefferson thing with the Vikings, where we're sweating it. What's going on? Could he be traded? Florio was all about the idea that he could still be traded and all of those things. Ultimately, it still gets done. But in this particular case with Ayuk, he's fantastic. Ayuk is on fire. Thank you, Greg Papa. But that's setting up now as we get closer to the season for a team that went to the Super Bowl, still has some plug and play NFC dominance to it. That's a conversation you'd like to have that is done by training camp, and it's persisting on. So we'll see. You got one more?
A couple of quick Twitch ones. Shohei Ohtani is not participating in the home run derby this year, unfortunately. I think he leads the entire MLB in home runs, or at least the NL in home runs, but he obviously is still rehabbing. He's still trying to get back into the pitching swing of things eventually, so he said he's not going to be in the home run derby. And like we mentioned just a segment or two ago, LeBron James and the Lakers have reached a deal. 2 years, $104 million. That includes a no-trade clause. It was reported just a few days ago that LeBron was willing to take a pay cut if the Lakers were going to be able to land a notable game-changing type player like a James Harden or someone like that, but clearly that is not the case. So LeBron James takes the maximum, gets his money on his way out. 2-year deal, $104 million.
Yeah, it's just like 10 minutes into free agency. Oh, you can't get that guy? I guess I'll take the max then. Yeah, I guess I will. Getting back to that conversation, by the way, we were having like Michael Jordan. You saw the text too, but this texture rolls in because Michael Jordan, he ain't putting his son on the roster. Now, cute little photo op and moments for LeBron and Bronny, but Michael ain't into that. He's into winning championships or not. Jordan's son, this from the text line, has something better than a roster spot. He has Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. And that's News to Nord, brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Again, fireworks show tonight. They may even have live racing tomorrow as well, or if it's Friday. The key to all of this, get to CanterburyPark.com, because this is one of many 4 race day weeks, I believe, on the calendar for Canterbury. So CanterburyPark.com, absolutely best spot to bring the family, watch and wager horses, and maybe win some money on the felt as well. When we return, let's have John Bonus enter the conversation. One thing that wasn't in the news, the Minnesota Twins. So we're going to go heavy on baseball with John Bonus over the next couple of segments here. Final hour upon us. It's Nordo and for PA on the Fan.